So today we got a very cool guest. She is often referred to as the Wonder Woman of mortgage. Um, and we're not here just to talk about mortgage products. We're not here to sell Lana. So this is Lana Oakes, who's been in mortgage. I don't know, Lana, how long have you been in mortgage?
39 years now.
39 years. That's incredible. So 39 years in the mortgage business. I have a close relationship with her and Annie Mac in my market center. But the real purpose of this is I'm really just using Lana and Annie Mac as an example. Um, they have some very, very unique products that solve very, very specific challenges that exist in our market right now. The drum that I'm constantly beating within my office is all of these unique products are opportunities to be able to generate more leads, get more buyers and sellers, and close more transactions. Right. So I think too often when we think of mortgage, we just kind of think of it as like a necessary evil. Like I just need to kick my client over to a loan officer who I trust. Kick my client over is a terrible way to say it. But like we know and understand the value of connecting them with a good loan officer. But the piece that I think gets missed is when we understand the unique products, not to the degree that you could underwrite it, but to the degree that you understand where it's useful and how to explain it in a very simple terms. Like that allows us to take unique products and turn them into marketing messages so they can become funnels to get into conversations with more buyers and sellers. It also helps us solve more problems, which makes us more valuable to our clients. So that's really what the intention of today is. Lana and I are going to go through some unique products and talk about how we can use those on the front end and on the back end. So using these products on the front end to attract new buyers and sellers, where these products solve challenges or problems that exist in their world. And then how do we use them to close more transactions? So, one, we'll all acknowledge it's not our job to be a loan officer. That's Lana's job or whoever your preferred loan officer is. I do, however, think it behooves us to understand on the surface level what tools do we have in our toolbox and when do we pull out that tool, right? And then, oh, by the way, who do those tools apply to, right? Because if we understand this particular product is valuable to this particular consumer, that's where we can convert the product to a marketing message to draw those individuals in and show them that we have a solution. So when we know and understand it, we have more knowledge, which means we can close more transactions. We can turn them into unique marketing messages and use them in email campaigns, social posts, mailers, buyer seller seminars. Like this stuff is gold. Every time Lana or anybody from Annie Mac is up in front of our office meeting and they're talking about these different products, and I say the same thing over and over again. If I'm actively selling real estate right now, I would be turning every one of these into a marketing message. I keep saying it, and everybody keeps ignoring me, and everybody just giggles at me when I say it and moves on. But I genuinely believe there's so much opportunity in these programs because of the problems that they solve. So we're going to go through a program at a time. We're going to talk about the program. We're going to talk about who it serves, what problems it solves, and then we're going to talk about how do you explain it in a short blurb, and then how do you turn it into a marketing message, right? So this is about understanding our toolbox and growing our business. So that being said, Lana, um, give us a quick introduction beyond the fact that you are known as the Wonder Woman of mortgage and you've been doing this for 39 years.
Oh, about me?
Yeah.
Gosh. So I have a big background in underwriting, processing, underwriting, all that. So biggest thing that I like to do is uh, figure out every deal as if it's a puzzle, right? What does the client need? What's the best program to fit their needs? And how do we work it out for them? And if that one doesn't work, which next program can probably help them obtain their goals of whatever they're trying to do? So basically, and I know I've worked with Kathy a lot, so she kind of gets it. We just try to find, hey, Kathy, we try to find the program to get your client kind of off the fence and moving forward. Um, Again, these programs that Annie Mac has was a deal changer for me. That's why I moved over to Annie Mac. Um, they honestly, there's a lot of other mock programs in the market, but they're not the same. They're not actually backed by cash. They're either some sort of insurance policy or have some kind of disclaimer of built-in extensions until things can be figured out. It's not actually a guarantee. So Annie Mac took that next step up and provided millions and millions of dollars to back these offers with cash. And they
All right, so you're getting a little bit ahead of me. We're going to talk about the specific program. There was two things I wanted to share quickly. Number one, everything that Alana's talking about, that's how we ended up in business together. I had my own mortgage company that worked with my office. And the challenge was I couldn't really compete and deliver the same level of value as a national or regional mortgage company like Annie Mac could. And I was chasing Annie Mac, trying to get them to broker the products they have, which I knew was pretty much never going to happen. But I just felt like if I asked it enough times, maybe I'd get lucky and get a yes. And the reason was the products were so timely for the market that we're in. The other thing I want to drive home, the reason I wanted to do this and the reason I beat this drum over and over and over again is my first year in real estate, I can attribute a very large piece of my success to a singular loan program. There was a unique loan program that was available through one lender in the market where I was selling, and it allowed me to put buyers who didn't think they could buy a home into a home in a very responsible way. And I went all in on that program. I made sure I told everybody about it. I made sure I marketed it. I made sure that I asked everybody I could, is there any reason you haven't bought a home yet? Like oftentimes the answer was, well, I don't think I can, or I'm not quite ready. And then I would go right into, I hear that all the time. And I've got this amazing program that I've been working with that is helping folks that have said that to me get into homes. Can I ask you a couple of questions, right? Like it was the number one feeder into my business. And it was one single program, not the stable of programs that are available today. So that's the reason I'm beating this drum. And that's really the part I want everybody to understand. So we're going to kind of go product by product. And we're going to talk about, again, what is it? How do we use it? And how do you leverage it to grow your business? So first program, Cash to Keys. Tell us what Cash to Keys is.
So Cash to Keys, did you want to bring up that slide? Because we do have 5 different programs now under the Cash to Keys platform. So without, getting anybody confused, the original Buy Now, Sell Later program, I think that was the first one that you had, correct?
So I have Cash to Keys up on the slides right now.
Okay. So the Cash to Keys, basically the programs that are under the Cash to Keys platform turns your client into a fully pre-approved buyer that's backed by a cash offer with Annie Mac. So there are different programs within that. One is a cash offer program where your client does not have a home to sell, but they can't get into a contract because maybe they're bidding against cash buyers or people with more money. We turn that buyer into a cash-backed guaranteed buyer so that there is a closing on closing day, whether your buyer purchases it or Annie Mac purchases it. It's stronger than cash. So that's one of the programs under the platform.
Let me drill down on that one statement you made, because I feel like that is also important for folks to understand, like how you present an offer like this. What makes it stronger than cash?
It's guarantee. It's a guarantee sale for that seller and guaranteed commissions to the real estate agents. That client could go out, mess up their financing, buy the Mercedes-Benz before closing and not qualify. And Annie Mac is committed to purchasing that home on closing day.
Yeah. So even with a cash buyer, there are things that could happen that could derail that transaction. And in this situation, that's not the case. If the buyer cannot follow through for any reason whatsoever, then Annie Mac is stepping in to buy that house. So I think that little nugget is important for people to understand, especially when they're presenting an offer to a listing agent.
Some other great things about that particular program, it is also for veterans. So VA loan, FHA loan, and conventional. Single family investment property, which is also great. Second home purchases. So that one, I mean, it will turn any of your buyers for those types of programs into a cashback buyer.
Which is huge.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, Heather just messaged me that I never shared my slides. No wonder you seemed confused,
I
Lana.
thought maybe they could see it.
No, we're all family here. You could have just called me out.
That's okay.
All right.
So cash
Now
offer.
everybody has the slides.
Hmm.
There we go. All right.
Yeah.
The good news is it's the first slide, so you didn't miss anything. Okay.
That's okay.
Anything else we should know about just the straight up cash to keys program?
So the only thing that kind of gets lost sometimes on this is the approval process, right? So they all have a pretty similar pre-approval process. They're not instant, right? So we have to take an application, gather all our documentations, and get the file fully underwritten so that it can then go to our private equity firm to put it through the cash offer certificates and everything for you. The typical process goes as fast as the clients can provide us documentation. Once we have all that, then it's about 3 days between underwriting and getting your cash certificates out of the private equity. So I usually say if a client can get us everything that we need within 2 days, it's about a 5-day process from beginning to end. This is not a process that can be started on a Saturday for a Sunday afternoon offer type of thing. So definitely know your client up front, push them to it. Here's what I tell everybody that calls, no matter what program we find is the best one for you, it's free to apply. You don't have to use it. So there's no reason you wouldn't apply for this to see what you can get. So every client that comes in should first start to see if they can get any of these programs that can help you move forward and secure a new property for them.
Totally makes sense. Okay. So, blurb is if you're talking to a client, this is just how do you introduce this into a conversation in a short, quick, simple blurb, right? So, the Cash to Keys programs turns you, buyer, into a better than cash buyer, guaranteeing the closing for the seller and giving you the competitive advantage that moves you to the top of the stack in a multiple offer situation. Underneath that, I have a stat that is a real stat. Typical pre-approved buyers are submitting 8.6 offers before getting a home or giving up. With cash to keys, the average is 1.4 offers per pre-approved buyer. So here's the crazy thing. That is a massive value for the consumer, right? Everybody on this call has had to go through that emotional roller coaster with a buyer client where they're excited, they submit, their offer isn't accepted, they're disappointed. They got to go back to shopping, right? Oh, by the way, like, right, once they have it in their head that this was the house, now they compare every house to that house, right? The emotions just keep stacking. Then they find another house, submit, they're excited, they don't get the offer, they're disappointed, right? Having to go through that 8.6 times on average is an awful ride to have to be on, not to mention the amount of time that you're spending showing houses and submitting unsuccessful offers when you can go from 8.6 to 1.4 by just introducing them to the right program. Oh, by the way, that feels like a pretty good marketing message, right? So we also included here a cash to keys social post that you could use as an infogram to be able to drop into your social medias, right? Because again, that's kind of the idea is what is the tool? How do we explain the tool? How do we market the tool? Okay, next one. Buy now, sell later.
Yes. So I think a lot of people have clients that don't want to list their house yet because they say, my house is going to sell really fast. Where am I going to go? I didn't find my home yet. This is perfect for them, right? Because we now again do the full pre-approval. We don't use their current home in their housing ratios, so they can go out, buy the next home that they want, and sell their home later. On the original buy now, sell later, which is this particular program, Annie Mac actually buys that next home. So they go out, they identify the home that they're in love with, they have to have it. Annie Mac will buy that home, give them 6 months to sell their home and buy the other home back from us. Lots of times. So I've had one with a few agents at Keller where this worked out for, four kids under the age of 10, 3 dogs. The house needs trim painted, some holes in the walls painted, crayons on the walls painted, probably some new carpets. this works out perfect. They get out of the house, they fix up the home, and now they're able to list their home with you that actually looks nice and sells quickly. So great opportunity there for a lot of people. Some people don't want to have to move on the same day. They want the time to move into the new home, empty out the old home, get rid of some dumpsters of stuff, slowly move into the new home. Again, great program for that, stress-free. They can buy the new home, or in this case, we buy the new home. They buy it back from us later when they sell their home. That
Nice.
gets a lot of sellers off the fence as far as where am I going to go if I sell my house too quick and I haven't found my next house.
Exactly. So you got cash to keys. Cash to keys solves the problem as a buyer being out in that competitive market and getting beat by cash offers or really strong deposits, or maybe if I am an FHA or a VA with a small down payment, now I can convert to a cash buyer, which makes me obviously far more competitive if I'm going up against 20% down or cash offers, right? Then the next biggest challenge that's creating a bottleneck in our market is, sure, I could sell my house, but where am I going to go? Right now, you've got a product that solves for that problem, that can help to get those sellers off the fence. So, anything else before we leave cash to keys? And by the way, we're going to open it up for questions at the end.
Yep.
Good on. Okay. So, same thing. What's your blurb? The Buy Now, Sell Later program allows qualified homeowners to get approved as a cash buyer and list their home once they've found a home or once they've moved into their home, and use AnnieMax Cash to do it. Is that a fair explanation in a very short sentence, paragraph? Okay.
Yep.
Next to that, we have a social post, right? We're going to share all of this, by the way, so you can, and by the way, you may come up with a better social post. That's fine. Just make sure any information that is included in it is included in the actual program. So I'm going to share a little toolkit with you guys when we send the link to the video. That has flyers, that has, and again, you know, if you want to take and use these as marketing messages or as tools to put back in your toolbox to solve some of these problems, it's really, really valuable. All right, so the next one we're going to do is rate relief. What the heck is rate relief? By the way, I'm assuming you're seeing these red lines that are showing up on my slides. I have no idea what that is or where they're coming from.
I think the last one came from Sherry.
Yes, it's from me, and I don't know how to erase it.
Oh, you're drawing on my slides? How are you even capable of doing that?
I don't know.
Can you do me a favor?
Oh, wait.
Can you
Here
draw
we
like
go.
a
There's an
little stick
eraser.
figure up in the white space?
There's
You
an
might
eraser.
have fun with it.
Is it working?
Oh, you erased it.
Yeah, there you go.
Great job.
Thank you.
All right, I was totally confused as to where those were coming from.
So
Okay.
was I.
We do have a quick question that I think you can answer throughout this too.
Yep.
Are any of these programs also available for multifamily homes? If so, owner occupied only or absentee as well?
So not for not for multifamilies right now. No, they are talking about it, but not for multifamilies.
So single family, and it is first home or second home, correct?
First home, second, or single family investment property we can do.
Oh, so they will do it for single family investment. Okay.
Investment, but it has to be single family, not a multi.
Got it.
And then really, just to be honest, in those cases, it's just that if we end up buying the home, we don't want to be landlords, right?
That makes sense.
Because we don't want to hold real estate either. We're going to end up, you know, if the original buyer can't buy it back, then the agent that brought it to us will end up listing the house back on the market and selling it. So kind of a win-win for the agents that brought us those deals. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, that's another really good, important point to make. Okay. What the heck is rate relief and why do we care?
Yes, rate relief. So you have those challenging sellers that might want to put their house on the market too high, despite everything that you're telling them. So they're listing the home and it's kind of sitting there. Rate relief. Rate relief, the seller of the home can actually buy into market rates below market price. Basically, taking any money that you might drop the value by, let's just say, instead of dropping a listing by $20,000, they're going to take that $20,000, invest it in buying down the interest rate for the new buyer. They do it in advance. You can now market that rate with a payment, or that house with a payment based on the rate that they can buy it down to. I've run some scenarios on this where I've had $550,000 listing by the seller buying that interest rate down using $15,000, open that particular house up to what normally would be a $475,000 buyer. So of course, a $475,000 buyer is going to love that $550,000 house. So by advertising those monthly payments, people will start saying, I can afford that house. You know, I'm not maxed out at 475. I can buy that $550,000 house. So just kind of using the money, the seller's money, to put into the market so that you can find a bigger buyer pool.
Love it. So is it safe to say where that is going to be most useful and most attractive is when we have a little bit more of a balanced market where
Yes.
homes are sitting a little longer, or is there a use case for it also that is different than just time on market? In other words, like in a market that we're still in Connecticut, where I'm sitting and you're sitting, that might not be the case for everybody on the call because a lot of the country has actually shifted and they have increases in inventory days on market, all the things. Is there a scenario that you've experienced in a market where it is still low inventory, typically multiple offers, where rate relief is still valuable and useful? Because I totally get, to me, the thing to explain to somebody is how it increases your buyer pool.
Yep. So, you know, this would be a scenario, and there are some towns right now, like Torrington, Winsted, right, that the values are still there. It's just that the market isn't moving as fast, right? That would be some great markets in Connecticut where you can use it. Or a buyer, or one of your buyers needs to sell their home in South Carolina where it's really not moving that well, right? So you have people moving in, you have the buyer, their listing isn't going anywhere. You know, you might want to introduce rate relief to get their home sold a little faster. But again, every scenario is a little different. So when I'm talking to a client, we can kind of figure out what makes sense. And then if we find out that they have a listing that either isn't moving or they want to move it super fast, right? Super fast at that price even. It just depends on, depends on the person.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, to me, the example you just gave is a perfect example of like the problem solving of like, okay, well, the problem isn't my property. The problem is the listing that needs to sell in Florida in order for that buyer to buy my property. Well, this becomes a tool for them to potentially expand their buyer pool and get their home sold, which then allows them to close on my house.
Yeah. And then in those, for any agent that's working with a buyer here, you may not have already had their referral on the listing of their house in another state or something, but you can now you can, mention this program to them for whoever agent they're working with to help them move that property, right?
Yeah,
so no matter what, there's another need for that.
Okay.
Especially if they didn't fit into maybe a cash to keys program or something. Because obviously you don't want to be showing people homes that need a Hubbard in the state of Connecticut, right? So now help them push their listing in another state a little bit faster.
Makes sense. Love it. And obviously it's going to become more and more valuable as the market normalizes, which is one of the things that I really love, because you can see, just for the products that we've reviewed so far, you can see where these tools are useful even when the market rebalances. Like they're just going to be useful in different situations, right? But none of these are programs that, the buy now, sell later is extra valuable right now because we have such a limited market. Yet it also offers tremendous convenience for anybody in any market. The cash to keys, that's a thing that's never not valuable, regardless of what the market is doing. So all of these, and rate relief, I can see the more normalized things get, the more valuable rate relief would be for sellers.
And that's a program, to be honest. So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's a program that you want to talk about before you ever drop the price on a listing. That's the one that, you have your seller call me and we go over all that. And then we can tell them, based on how much money they want to put into it, right? So sometimes people are saying, oh, let's just drop it 10,000. Well, 10,000 and an interest rate for a new buyer is huge. That's a lot of money. So you would end up, driving in buyers that might not have looked at that house previous,
Yeah. Interesting. And if you're really proactive, right, when you drop that rate, you're going to market the heck out of that. You're going to reach out to agents that are representing clients in that area to make sure they know all those things. So toolkit, quick blurb, rate relief allows you to lock in and market a below market rate for buyers, making your home more attractive and more affordable to more buyers. That can mean more attention, more offers, and less price negotiations.
It will also drive in buyers to you. Maybe a buyer that doesn't necessarily want that house, but wants to know how you got that interest rate. So
yeah, another valid point. Yeah,
mhm.
Love it. Okay. Appraisal insurance. What is it? Why do we care?
Yep, appraisal assurance. So this is something that we would do upfront on a listing that pretty much guarantees the appraised value, a certain appraised value on that house, right? So we're going to get pictures of the home, send it in, have a desk appraisal done in advance where you can then market that home that at least Annie Mac is guaranteeing a minimum price of X amount. So when you talk about appraisal gaps or going too high over value, if you have a certificate in advance that basically assures them that if they go with Annie Mac, that that house is going to appraise. Lots of time they do come in higher. If for whatever reason that the appraisal actually comes in later and it's a lower price, Annie Mac actually makes that client whole by paying the upfront mortgage insurance premium in advance. So that doesn't change their payments or anything like that.
Okay. So when do you use this? Like when do you introduce it into the process?
Really, it could be done, and it depends on your listing, right? It depends on your listing. If you have a listing and you say, all right, we're in a hot market and it's going to go over value, but everybody starts playing the guessing game of where it's going to go. So let's say you list a house at 400 and you think it's going to go for 450. Well, let's do an appraisal assurance. And maybe that appraisal assurance comes in at 460, right? Now you can actually market that any buyer can go up to that knowing that it will appraise for that if they use Annie Mac.
So also potentially, let me ask this question. Is there a cost to the seller for appraisal assurance?
No.
Okay. So this could also be something that you do with essentially every seller.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yep.
And that would give them,
because at that point, yeah, if you have that certificate and you have that, even if you post it in your listing, and I'm not sure if you can or not, people that will say, oh, well, I don't know if it'll appraise, so I'm only going to go up 20,000. This certificate's actually probably going to drive your competition up on that if it comes in much higher.
I'm going into the weeds a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so we list a house, we do appraisal assurance. We have a buyer who comes, works with Annie Mac because of the appraisal assurance. Does that save them on the appraisal?
No, so an appraisal still needs to be done as long as, if we have an appraisal waiver, we can accept the appraisal waiver. But if not, we still do the appraisal. It's just that if that appraisal, for whatever reason, comes in lower than our appraisal assurance, we're going to make that client basically whole by paying that upfront mortgage insurance premium to make sure that their payment is exactly the same as it would have been.
Got it. Okay. Anything else about appraisal insurance that we should know? No? Okay. So the blurb, appraisal assurance gives you the potential opportunity to submit your offer with an appraisal contingency, strengthening your offer while maintaining your peace of mind. Right? We've got a little social graphic that you can use for social media. I would also say too, these are fine. The best marketing for these products, if your clients are willing, is to share the real stories. Like that's what resonates the most is when you can actually tell the story, whether it's you with your client talking about whether it was the struggle of submitting offers and getting having your offers declined until they entered this program and their first offer was accepted, which I know Lana has seen a whole bunch of times. If that's not something a client wants to share or isn't comfortable, you can always tell the story without the names or any other details that are identifiers, right, for confidentiality reasons. But those real stories about what people are going through and how you're helping them navigate that, specifically with products like this, that's actually the best marketing you could possibly do. All right. This one you're going to have to explain to me because I don't even know what it means.
Yep.
So I know what buy now, sell later is. I don't know what buy now, sell later express is.
Yes, this is new. This is my favorite program, to be honest. So you have a seller that may or may not have equity in their property, right? But if they do, basically this is, again, we do the full underwrite. It's backed by cash guarantee. But what we're doing is we're taking a percentage of the equity out of their current home as a bridge loan, and they purchase the new home at time of closing. They then have 5 months to sell their home and pay off the bridge financing, basically. We don't use the debt from the house that they're vacating to qualify for the new one, but this bridge loan can be used for the down payment on the new house, down payment and closing costs on the new house. It could be used to fix up the existing home that they're looking to sell. They can keep some of that money for reserves if they think that they might not sell their home right away, if they have to end up making double payments on mortgages down the road. But in this scenario, they actually buy the home. We give them the percentage of equity out of their home. They buy the new home. The fees on this are very low to use. It's a $1,200 fee to use the program. They can use part of that equity to pay down debt to qualify for the new home. So this one is this opens a lot of doors, fills a lot of gaps that we kind of had before. This one just came out within the last month or so, and I've probably closed 6 of them already.
Okay. So very similar to buy now, sell later, with the exception of they are actually pulling the equity they have in their home and then using that cash, like you said, for whatever pieces they need to use it for to make it all work, whether it's down payment, paying off debt, repairs on the new home, all the things. So the difference is it is their cash. And
they're the buyers on the new home.
Again, I don't want to get too much into the weeds. So if you have somebody that is their cash to keys buying the new house, does that fit into the Express program still, or is that a separate thing? So if you're doing Express, they're actually tapping into equity.
And not always, though. So we have buy now, sell later Express without bridge financing. So that just means that they don't have a lot of equity in the home that they're selling, but they have the money for the down payment and closing costs on the new home. We just don't want to use the debt from the old home to qualify them.
Got it.
So now they don't have to sell their home in order to buy. Again, it's backed by our Annie Mac cash guarantee, and you don't have to put a Hubbard in. So it turns them in again to a cash buyer.
Okay, that's where I was going to. So they still can use the cash to keys to be a cash buyer, even though they're leveraging some portion of their equity to put into the transaction from their old or their existing home.
Yep.
Got it.
So you can do it with or without the bridge financing.
I assume similar to the traditional cash to keys. Client gives you all the information you need within a 2-day period. It can be turned around in roughly a 5-day period.
Yes.
But not a call on a Saturday night for an offer you want to submit Sunday morning.
Correct.
Got it. I know that was one of, when we first started working with you locally, one of the number one problems was those fire drill calls of, hey, I got a buyer, they want to write an offer on this house and we want to do cash to keys. And it's the first you're hearing of the buyer client.
Yes.
Yeah, those are not going to work.
No, unfortunately. And that's why really when an agent is speaking to someone up front, again, it's free to go through the whole pre-approval process. You don't have to use it at the end of the day. If you have it, now it's a tool that you have. If you're writing the contract, they already sold their home. You don't need the program. You don't need to write your contract with the addendums, but it's a safe backup for you. Everybody should get pre-approved for it.
Okay, so I think you just led me into the next thing I want to talk about, and then I'm probably just going to open it up and see what questions we have. So I want to go through maybe the top 3 misunderstandings that happen with these kinds of programs. So one, I know like that fire drill, I need a pre-approval because I'm submitting the offer in an hour. Like that's not going to work if you want to submit a cash to keys offer, right? You got to be proactive with it. So that's number 1. Number 2, you just sort of touched on, which is the cost for the program. So you get approved for the program. So let's run a scenario. You get approved for buy now, sell later, cash to keys. You make an offer on a house. Offer is accepted. You immediately list your house and you're able to coordinate the closing dates. What are the fees above and
Then the
beyond?
buy now, sell. Yep. If they're buying and selling on the same day, there's no fees.
No fees.
So we collect an escrow amount up front, depending on the program, and that gets fully refunded back to them at time of closing. So there's no fees on the original buy now, sell later if they close on closing day.
Okay. That was one of the things I wanted to drill home, right? Just because they get approved for it doesn't mean they have to use the program. And just because they've leveraged the program to be a stronger buyer doesn't necessarily mean they end up using the program. They really only end up using the program if, in fact, they do buy before they sell. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. What other myths or confusions exist around these that we should cover before we open it up for questions?
A lot of people think that we buy their current home that they're selling. That is not that's never the case. We don't buy that home up front. We do have built into our contracts that if they can't sell their home within the 5 or 6 months, depending on the program, we do have a built-in offer that we've made them an offer. They could sell the home to us at a discounted rate. We then, again, we don't want to hold real estate, so the house ends up getting put back on the market, but it gets them out of that home.
And you mentioned earlier, when that happens, the listing agent is the person who will service that client.
Correct.
Awesome. All right. Anything else before we open up for Q&A?
I don't think so.
Okay. What questions do you have for Lana about any of these programs, how to use them, anything at all? You've got a 39-year mortgage veteran with some awesome products that are super relevant in our market. What questions do you have for her?
I actually have a couple, I guess. With the rate relief, if there is a problem with the appraisal because you're not lowering that price and it doesn't come in, what happens in that case? Or do you use the appraisal assurance also? Like, can you double?
You could piggyback it. Yep, you could piggyback it with the appraisal assurance, or if you didn't do that, your original appraisal rider in your contract would cover that portion of it.
Okay. And then with the appraisal assurance program, how would you word that in your listing so that it doesn't look like you're steering clients toward a specific lender or you know what I mean? Like, is there like some kind of...
So our certificate is only valid if they use AnnieMac.
Okay.
So they could choose not to, but they wouldn't, it's not an assurance.
So it's a wording. You just can't say like specifically, I mean, we are going to mention the program, right? But how do we carefully do that without getting in that red area?
So I'm going to jump in on that one. And just because I do not know who is on the call or where they're from, and I don't want to give broker advice to somebody who I am not their broker, I'm going to say that's everybody should go to their broker to find out in their local area what they can and cannot advertise. I will make a very generic statement that it is very common in some areas, especially for large builders, that they market things similar to this, a reduced rate. They market, some even require a consumer to be at least pre-qualified by a specific lender. in order for their offer to be entertained. So it's not that you can't do those things. And I'm going to leave the blanket statement over that as everybody should talk to their local broker and make sure, however they're marketing that it is compliant in the area where you are operating. And I can give you a better answer offline
Sounds good.
for our local market.
Sounds good. Because I definitely want to use that. And I
Yeah.
want to make sure I don't get in trouble by doing it.
Yes, I want to make sure you don't too. But yeah. What else do we have? Did you have more, Kathy? You're good? Okay. Any other questions for Lana? Going once. Going twice. All right, Lana, if you could do me a small favor, if you want to put your contact information in the chat box, in case anybody does have any questions about any of these programs, they know how to reach out to you. As a follow-up, when we send out the link for the video, we will include flyers for all of these. We'll include the social posts, the blurbs, all the things that we talked about today. So you have those. And again, the point I want to drive home, and I'm going to repeat it over and over and over again, right? The intent of today's webinar was not to sell Lana, although Lana's amazing. It was not to sell Annie Mac's programs, even though Annie Mac's programs, in my opinion, are amazing. The real point of it was that these things can be leveraged to A, create more client opportunities, B, serve our clients at a higher level, and C, get more of those clients to the finish line with less stress and less time wasted, right? So these are tools that you can use to grow your business, and you can use to provide a better experience to your clients, and you can use to get more of those clients to the finish line in a market that is tricky, because today's market, regardless of where you are, it has its tricky intricacies right now, right? If you're in New England, you're still dealing with a low inventory, typically multiple offers situation. If you're in other areas, you're in that weird shift, right? The beginning of a shift is always a weird spot where things are changing and the consumers might not totally understand what climate they're in, right? Understanding all these products and knowing what problems they solve allows you to put more transactions together, keep more transactions together, and bring more value to all of your clients. So that's really the point I want to drive home. Leverage these things, go out, talk about them, do webinars, post them, make email campaigns, like get all those things out. We all know as sellers, there's really two things that sellers are worried about. One is, if I sell, where am I going to go? And two, if I'm going to sell my house and I'm still going to need a mortgage, it's the mortgage rate, right? If they are one of those folks that is a, sub 3%, it's trading that mortgage rate that is challenging for them. So we got to know how to solve those two problems for people if we're going to help people who want to move. And those are the two hurdles, right? Same with buyers that are exhausted. I mean, I saw buyers 5 years ago, people I know personally, who decided to pull out of the game and just sit on the sideline because they were like, this is just too crazy. They were making offers, over asking, doing everything they could to make their offers as competitive as possible. And they were just losing, right? Somebody else was winning the home. And they decided to sit on the sidelines. And I remember having conversations with some of them saying, hey, here's what you need to understand. Right now, rates are at historic lows. They're at levels that we've never seen in the history of real estate before. There is no reason to believe they're going to go lower or stay here. Yet, we have no idea how long this low inventory, multiple offer situation is going to happen. As much as this feels competitive, if you choose to go on the sideline, there's a good chance where you're going to end up when you decide to get back in the game is the same low inventory, multiple offer situation, but with a higher interest rate. That's the thing I would hate to see. And some of them chose to kind of fight through it and bought a long time ago. And I know others that have bought in the last 6 to 12 months, right? And they have a much higher mortgage rate, right? So my point in that is just that we need to know how to be able to solve all these problems as the market is shifting. And if we know how to solve the problems, we should be telling people we know how to solve these problems so that they come to us and we can show them how to solve these problems. So that was the real message I wanted to deliver. Lana, as always, you're amazing. Thank you so much. Lana's contact information is in the chat. I'll send out all the follow-up material as well. You look like you might have one other comment to make.
Yes.
What do you got?
If anybody wants co-branded flyers or social media posts or anything, just shoot me an email and I'll have those done for you by the marketing department and get them right back to you so you can post about them.
Awesome. And if you happen to be local to Connecticut, I believe you do like video days at your office where people can come in and create content and use your studio space to be able to do that. So it's another opportunity as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Happy Tuesday, and we will see you on the next episode.